Hey everyone, today we're going to be discussing some more unchanged perks. This time more recent, but still old perks, released between December 2019 and March 2021, meaning all of these are between about 3.5 to 2.5 years old now. Blood Echo is kicking us off, a perk that released with Oni, and has not been changed since its release in December 2019. This is a perk I think that is deceptively good, and actually quite underrated. It excels particularly on characters like Plague or Legion, who can keep a team injured consistently. This perk inflicts all injured survivors with hemorrhage and exhaustion for 45 seconds whenever you hook someone. This is pretty great to be honest, but does definitely rely on how capable you are at keeping a team injured. A 45 exhaustion duration isn't to be looked down on. That's more than the typical recovery of 40 seconds. In the current made for this meta, it's certainly not a bad pick, forcing survivors to walk about to regain their perk. The reason for this perk not being changed, I imagine, is because it's in sort of a weird spot. It applies a hefty exhaustion effect, making it certainly not useless. However, it activates very situationally, and requires other survivors also to be injured. There's going to be a bunch of games where this gets no value. Perhaps this could benefit from becoming a Scourge hook, and have the buff of affecting all survivors, no matter the health state. In exchange for the smaller number of hooks the effect can be applied on. Nemesis is next, and another Oni perk. An odd name nowadays with us having the Nemesis also. Nemesis is a highly unique and kind of utility perk, which is why I don't think it's been touched. It fulfills a specific role, but it admittedly does it well, particularly when you want to particularly when you want a build particularly when you want a build focused on obsessions. Whenever someone stuns you by pallet, flashlight, blast mine, whatever it is, they become the obsession, and also receive a 60-second duration of Oblivious. You also get to see their aura very briefly. This is a great perk for obsession builds, particularly if you want to evenly hook a team whilst running a perk like Save the Best for Last. Chasing with this perk is definitely a bit easier, and the Oblivious duration is pretty decent. I would wholly say that the perk is weak, but that's purely because its application and potential usage with other perks isn't that high. I honestly think this perk is in a good place and fulfills the role it's meant to well, however niche that may be. I think in reality this perk requires external buffing, so other obsession related perk buffs, and things to combo with Nemesis. Red Herring is a perk of Zarina, and debatably one of the worst survivor perks, but shockingly has not been changed. This perk is deception based and aims to help you mislead the killer to a generator when no one is working. This perk is dreadful, and takes up so much time, for 95% of the time literally no value. This perk activates after working on a gen for 3 seconds. Once this is done, you can run to a locker, and upon doing so it'll give the killer a loud noise notification on that gen you are working on. This then has a 40-second cooldown. This is really bad. It takes a bunch of time to make it work that could be used just doing a gen. When you do manage to activate it, there's a chance the killer doesn't even check the gen. There's also a chance by the time you've gotten to the locker, a teammate is on the gen, and now you've just revealed their location. If there's a 3 gen you want to break, and you fake a gen further away, guess what? The killer just isn't going to check it, and instead will hold the 3 gen. It's not a good perk, and I think it's remained unchanged because they probably don't know what to do with it. Unlike most deception perks, it's not even fun, I would say. I really hope this gets changed soon. Deathbound is a perk of Pyramid Head, and is a very convoluted perk. It activates when a survivor heals another from at least 32 meters away from your location. For most characters that's around the size of your terror radius. The survivor who completes the heal will scream, and for the next 60 seconds, if the survivor who healed gets at least 8 meters away from the survivor they healed, the healer becomes oblivious. Really bizarre perk. What I don't like about this perk is that it doesn't feel like you can use it knowingly to your advantage. It's more of a passive debuff to the other team. One big downside of this perk too is that if survivors are healing, you're probably far away, and so even with this scream, there's a good chance by the time you reach the survivor, they're either gone or they've been on a gen with their buddy and won't even suffer from oblivious. My main gripe is just that the perk is confusing to read mainly. Perks can be complex, but you shouldn't have to figure out this many stages of something, especially as the effect is so weak. I have no idea why this hasn't been changed yet, and I think it could use extensive buffs, and possibly an entire rework. Dragon's Grip is a perk of Blight, and this one's lack of changes really shocks me, because I never see this perk. For a perk that inflicts the exposed status, you probably think it'd get more usage. I've solely seen it being expressed to have usage in very niche scenarios. This perk activates after kicking a generator. Doing so makes it so the next survivor to work on the generator within 30 seconds will become exposed for 60 seconds. The main reason why I think this perk is bad is because of that 30 seconds. It really stunts its ability to be effective. Most killers can't even get their terror radius fully away in around half that time, meaning either you have to stay close with a stealth perk, or you have to be able to locate the survivor. It may work sometimes when a survivor is a bit more bold and taps the generator in front of you, but once they see this perk, they're not going to do it again. This perk I think could just use a complete removal of the 30 seconds, or at least an extension to something like 60. I think it's probably remained unchanged because the literal inflicted exposed effect is good, but the nicheness of the perk overall, and how much it relies on situations, makes it far worse in my opinion. Oppression is a twins perk. This perk is another deceptively good perk. It catches people off guard a lot, and is actually pretty decent game delay. Whenever you kick a generator, 3 other generators will begin regressing if they don't have a survivor on them. If they do, the survivors on the generator receive a difficult skill check. As this appears suddenly, it'll often mean they miss it. This perk is actually pretty good, and I think a fair generator control and information perk. The bad thing about it is that it has an 80-second cooldown, which is like one of the longest cooldowns I've ever seen. This could easily be dropped down to 60, I think. Even something like 40 I think would be fine, or at least worth testing. This is a fun and fair perk I think, and could use some love. Why it's been unchanged I imagine is simply down to concern over it becoming too powerful if buffed, being able to technically regress 4 generators in a single kick, albeit at the base regression rate. Visionary is a perk of Felix. This perk suffers mainly because it just has a bunch of other way better counterparts. This perk reveals the auras of generators in a 32 meter range. The main downside of this is that the perk deactivates for 16 seconds whenever a generator is completed. It's like a counteractive effect, it deactivating when you debatably most need it. Pop a gen, look for another. Oh, my perk's gone. Why this hasn't been changed is odd I think, but likely down to it just being overlooked, as other similar generator related information perks have gotten more love. I think this should just have the deactivation knocked off, make it into a bond for generators. Nice and simple, but does its job. Appraisal is a case of a perk focusing on an area which doesn't really need much focus. It's nice to have, but it doesn't change much. This perk allows you to search chests again, with a rummage action. You can do this up to 3 times on different chests. You rummage 80% faster than you initially search a chest. This is a weird perk. It does definitely provide you with more items, but it doesn't guarantee them to be better, just to get more. You tend to have to run this perk with things like plunderers to really get good value. It hasn't been changed because, well, it does the job it's meant to well, which is let you get more items from chests. I don't think it's a good effect, particularly with the majority of items being quite heavily nerfed nowadays, and the opening of chests usually being a time waste. It hasn't been changed, but maybe that's fine, with it fulfilling a niche role. Deception is another perk from Elodie. This perk is used to trick the killer chasing you by fake entering a locker. When running past a locker, you will get a prompt to fake enter. Doing so will make the locker doors flop open, as if someone's entered, and you get a 3-second duration of no scratch marks. This perk has a 40-second cooldown. This perk isn't the most amazing, but it's pretty decent and can honestly still catch me out fairly often, and when I use it, can catch people out too. Even if you don't use it to try and trick a killer into opening a locker, you can still just use it for the scratch mark removal, which can sometimes help to get some distance or hide, particularly if you can break line of sight. I think this perk is actually okay. It's a little silly, but it does have a relatively decent chase effect, with the potential to completely end chases. It's certainly not the best perk, but I understand why it's not been changed. It's fun, and it does its job pretty well. Self-preservation is a perk of Jone. This perk is kind of more lore focused than it is on being actually useful. If a survivor within 16 meters of you gets hit, your scratch marks, pools of blood, and grunts of pain are hidden for 10 seconds. This is a really weird perk, and I don't really understand what its purpose is. I think if anything, it could gain benefit as an endurance perk or something. If it activated in the same way, then gave a 10-second endurance duration, I would kind of get what it's going for. Why this has been unchanged is really anyone's guess though. It's another perk no one uses, so it could really use some changes. It has a lot of steps to make it worthwhile currently, and most of the time it's not going to get you any value. The killer is probably more focused on the person they hit, and not you, so it's really bizarre, this perk. It could benefit even just from a flip of making the person who gets hit become less trackable briefly, but then I guess the name doesn't fit. Regardless, the effect is bad and should be changed. Alright, well, that's gonna do it. I do hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of these perks, and how you would opt to change them down below. Thanks, and goodbye.